Hey, look, the cameras work.
Hi, Mom.
Back. We're back. We technically haven't gone anywhere. We just haven't been here on this platform for quite some time. But we are back, and we are back mainly because we're technically back a day late. We are back a day late on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel for a couple reasons. Yesterday, there was a little bit of a plumbing accident in the building.
I'll say.
I had nothing to do with it. Kev had nothing to do with it. But shout out to those plumbers. They're still here.
Yeah.
Whatever happened technically last week.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, wait. When was that? No, it was Monday.
It was Monday? Huh. When the blank hit the fan?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So Kev and I, we did not do the show on camera yesterday. We did the show remote, but we are back in studio today. Excited to be with you. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
Off and rolling here on a Tuesday. A lot to get into here today. Ohio State kicks off the season coming up this Saturday. Just a reminder, this Saturday in Centerville at Submarine House, we will be live. It is our first Buckeye pregame tailgate of the season. That's right. Throughout, we're going to be on a rotation to different submarine houses throughout the season. We're kicking it off this Saturday, at 2:00, Submarine House in Centerville for our Buckeye pregame tailgate. Okay, 2:00 to 3:30, we'll be on the air, getting you set for Ohio State and Akron, and then of course we'll be hanging out and might have a brewski or two.
Indeed,
or a diet brewski. You know. Some health scares have revealed to me that I might be a little on the bigger side. Okay?
You remind me of my brother.
Even when I'm losing weight, I'm fat. It doesn't, it is what it is. John Sladens, how are you, sir? He says, good afternoon, gentlemen. John, it has been a while, sir. Good to hear from you. Yeah, I'm glad to be back on the old Facebook page. Even Ryan Strong is back. Look, finally back from vacation. How y'all been? And what the hell happened to the Reds? I don't know. More bad news for the Reds today. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A Reds starting pitcher goes on the IL.
Oh, goodness.
I think we've all heard, Reds fans and non-Reds fans alike have heard that joke told many, many times, and really not a whole lot of laughs that come with it. Shaw, how we doing, fellas? Hope all has been well. I see you there wearing my Connor Stallions glasses. So I'm going to refrain from that. Look, I think that nobody cares about that stuff. Nobody cares about Connor Stallions. Nobody cares about Michigan. No one cares. We haven't watched. You haven't watched.
No, I haven't watched it. I don't know what time it came out because it's all over Twitter, but it wasn't on Netflix yesterday. At least not to my knowledge. When I was watching
today. So
okay.
When stuff comes out, when they say, I learned this with Ozark. No, what was the last Netflix?
Yeah, it was
Ozark?
I
think it was Ozark. That was the last Netflix original I was waiting up for. El Camino was another one. That was another one I waited up for too. So if it comes out on the 27th, it comes out at like 2 a.m. I don't know why.
Those West Coasters.
That's what I'm assuming. It's either so it's 3 a.m. It comes out at midnight West Coast time. So it's 3 a.m. our time. I was not getting up at 3 a.m. To prove I do not care as much about this as what y'all think. I was not waking up at 3 a.m. to watch the creepy ass Connor Stallions dude. What a weirdo. By the way, I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like he has done them more harm than good, which who would have thought that running your uneducated mouth, even though he might be educated, I don't know. It just didn't seem like a good idea. But hey, his 15 hours of fame are continuing. So there's
absolutely. I'm gonna watch. You're gonna watch, and then we're gonna react to it tomorrow on the show. But like, just from the clips, and obviously this is just clips. It's very weird. Like,
yeah,
there's fans like you and I. There's fanatics, and then there's psychopaths. And he appears to be like on that other side of it, like taking it a step too far.
Yep.
Too far.
Yep. I remember when my mom used to not let me have control of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to watch her shows or her movies, and she would always have some Lifetime movie on. And the psychopath that always has the woman tied up in the back of the car, he looks like Connor Stallions. I'm just saying. Does anyone check the trunk of his car? That's all I'm saying. Let's see. John Slayden says, Nick Lodolo, by the way, for the Reds starting pitcher. Connor Stallions to Nick Lodolo. Perfect transition, right? Nick Lodolo is going on the IL with a middle finger injury. So John Slayden's on the Facebook page says, did Lodolo hurt his middle finger waving at a bell?
Broke the bird,
Why is that Bell's fault that he got hurt?
Broke the bird.
Leave my guy Bell alone. Denver Lewis. What up, Denver? He goes, it's football season. Go Browns. There we go. There we go.
Oh, I got questions about the Browns for you for sure.
Hey, they got their tackles back. You better start being scared. Just saying, they got their tackles back. No, what you got?
No, so obviously born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Whole family outside of me and my brother and my mom are Browns fans. Everybody else is Browns fans. So I'm talking to my pops, I'm talking to my uncle, I'm talking to my father-in-law, and none of them are confident about Deshaun Watson. Everybody is mad that he didn't play in the preseason. Everybody's mad that he makes X amount of dollars and is guaranteed. And nobody is happy with Deshaun Watson. And I'm thinking to myself, how can't you be happy with Deshaun Watson? Because to me, the last time you actually saw him play, he was balling. Like the last 2 games, he balled out of control. Like, so why are you not happy?
I think for the first time since Deshaun Watson has got here, well, for one, it's just been a noisy ass roller coaster since the second he got here. And I've always said, you could be noisy. You just got your talent has to be worth it. And I'm not justifying what made it noisy. Let's be clear. Again, I have to keep putting out that disclaimer every time, right? But his talent hasn't justified the risk that the Browns took.
Okay.
The talent that he had in Houston justified it. But I think there's just Deshaun Watson fatigue. I've stated this before. The Cleveland Browns, this is actually one of the most impressive stretches they've had. This is the most impressive stretch they've had since returning to Cleveland. They have had some of the most stand-up human beings represent this Cleveland Browns organization, from Nick Chubb to David Njoku to Myles Garrett. The list goes on and on. Like Amari Cooper is one of the most quiet, down-to-earth individuals, a perfect representative for an organization that's trying to, rebuild itself or rebuild its reputation, right? Not being looked at as the losers, being looked at as a team that good human beings, good guys like Amari Cooper and David Njoku wanted to remain a Cleveland Brown. Myles Garrett wants to be a Cleveland Brown. Like these guys, they take pride in being a Cleveland Brown. You find Nick Chubb, you have guys that you want to show off and talk about and say, man, they are a Cleveland Brown. But those guys don't get talked about because the overshadowing of everything that goes back to Deshaun Watson. Nick Chubb's good, but it doesn't matter how good, because if you don't have Deshaun Watson playing well, who cares? You might have one of the best defensive players in the history of the NFL, a generational talent, and doesn't matter how good he is, because his talent will only be justified resume-wise by what the quarterback is able to do. Everything goes back to Deshaun Watson. I'm not defending him here, but why the hell are people mad about preseason? Like, what are we doing here? He participated in all the live practice, the joint practices.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't miss practice. He didn't miss camp. He followed he rehabbed and actually recovered quicker. They were saying he wasn't going to be ready by week 1. He's ready for week 1. So my big thing is, people were upset about this final preseason game because there was talk about him going to play, then more injuries to the offensive line up front. I don't blame him one bit that he didn't play. Now, it wasn't up to him. He actually wanted to play. It came out, he addressed the media, said he wanted to play. It was not his decision why he didn't. Both tackles are out. The offensive line's banged up. And what Deshaun Watson going to drop back for 3 or 4 plays in an opening drive and then hold on to his shoulder pads the rest of the way? What is that doing? It's not doing anything. I think people are they're mad because until we see that he could do, and by the way, we already know, I think Browns fans are already embracing for what's going to happen. Another slow start. Oh man, here we go. He's coming off an injury. No one feels bad for him anymore. Okay, no, we don't care about the injury. Come out and play. Come out and ball. Come out and earn your money. The Bengals really good. Ravens really good. Steelers, if one of those quarterbacks hits, they're going to be really good. No more excuses. We don't have till November to get it right. You got to be right September 8th. We'll see what happens.
Question for you and everybody listening. Who gets off to a faster start, Joe Burrow or Deshaun Watson?
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is, well, I say that. I guess both are. That injury to Deshaun, you have the shoulder injury to Deshaun Watson, the wrist injury of the throwing arm, and the Bengals did a good job of kind of hiding. The Bengals have done about as good a job of any team of shielding their injured quarterback from the media. The Browns have done an okay job by just not allowing him to play. I don't know. That's a good question. The Bengals have traditionally always had a slow start.
I get paid to do this.
And I'm going to blame Jamar Chase if they get out to a slow start. No, but if the Bengals get out to a slow start, it'll be it has never been one thing for the Bengals slow start, but it has always been a combination of things. So this combination of a potential slow start, even though they played the Patriots, there's really no excuse to play the Patriots.
That's what I was just about to pull up.
So their schedule is very favorable. They have the Chiefs in week 2. Bengals fans, what's a start to the season that you don't feel is a slow start? To me, 3-1. I think you could lose to the Chiefs if it's a competitive game, and I don't think that's going to be held against you. But you lose to the Chiefs, I think. Who do they have after the Chiefs?
Lovely internet.
Oh no, that's
doing
fine.
internet things.
Gosh, we've looked at this schedule 100 times.
I
I'm
know
sorry,
you
guys.
figure
Like,
we
yeah.
know these by heart by now.
So let me go to this too. Let's see if it works faster on the old desktop over here. So
Here we go.
Okay.
Go for it.
No, you're good. So they have the Commanders and Panthers. To me, the Commanders are actually sneaky good. I think they're going to be like the Houston Texans of 24, 25, or they'll be you know what I mean. So the Patriots, that should be a win. The Chiefs, you can't afford to lose it. But man, you start out 2-0 with a win over the Chiefs in week 2. That's hot. But you can't follow it up with a win against the Commanders because I feel like you could let your guard down against them. You got a weak team in the Panthers. I think you have to be 3-1. If you're anything but 3-1 for the Bengals 1 month into the season, if your first game, when you play the Ravens on October 6th and you're not at least 3-1, I'd say that's a slow start to the season if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, because that means you would have lost to either the Patriots, Panthers, and I like the Commanders, but Commanders, if you lose to any of those teams and you want me to believe you're a Super Bowl contender
At home on Monday night,
I'm not buying into any of that. So yeah, 2-2 is a slow start. 1-3 is a bad start, obviously. 3-1 is the most favorable start I see them having here early.
I'm going to put some money on the Bengals losing to the Panthers. Doesn't that just seem like something that will happen? Not to the Bengals, but just in the NFL.
Yeah.
Just in the NFL, like where, like, just say, for instance, the Bengals beat the Patriots and then they go to Burrowhead, and win. Hype, ready to go. Get another win against the Commanders. Then they go on the road because they're looking ahead because they got the Ravens coming to their place. Like, that's like a look ahead game. And that's just like human nature. That's not a Cincinnati Bengals thing. That's every team in the NFL thing where you start out hot and then you have a less than and you're going to their place and you have a big divisional rival waiting for you at home. So you kind of like look ahead. I could see that happening. I'm going to go ahead and I know the Cincinnati Bengals are favored by a ton, as they should be. I think that would be a good bet to at least bet that they won't cover that game at the very minimum, just because they'll be looking ahead to the Baltimore Ravens.
The trap game. Oh shit! I got it.
Oh!
I got stabbed you with the pen on accident. Might be more of the Kinner and Kev Show when we come back. All right. Ha ha ha. He.
What happened?
Nothing happened as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
I
okay.
was just looking out for my guy. I almost stabbed him with the pen. He was reaching over to grab the bell. I had the pen like a child pointed outwards. I saw his hand coming down to hit the bell. I might have said a word you can't say.
Might. I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear anything either, FCC. Yeah, you know me. Just saying.
What up, Shaw?
Ryan Strong says, ooh, 1 week ban. Please. Shoot. 4 weeks, 5 week ban right there.
No days off for Kinner from September until February.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
March, rather.
Strong says Shaw 2.0. Shaw said, wow, haha, Kinner suspended for a week now. It looks like we have the suspension, like obviously, because the bad people that listen to the show, precedent has been set for how to handle this. Ron Howard says, welcome to the club. This is not like a cool thing, guys. So there's that. I don't even know what that means. Roger says, I hope you're not devoting too much time to the Reds. We'll touch on the Reds here in a bit because of again,
I don't want to talk baseball.
Another injury.
I don't want to talk baseball.
Yeah, what's going on with the old guards?
You know, the Guardians are 0 for 8 this year in doubleheaders.
Really?
Yeah. I read that on the good old Twitter box last night after they lost back-to-back games. It's bad. It's down to one game now. It's down to one game. I'm not sure if they're going to win the division. I'm not even sure if they're going to make the playoffs from a wild card percentage. I mean, right now, analytics say they have a 75% chance of still making the playoffs, but you know, they've been faltering down the back half of the season. I just don't like the way they're playing. There's no energy. There's no juice. And the pitching has been god awful. We're hoping Tristan McKenzie would step up this year. He's down in the minor leagues. I don't even know if they've called him back up to the main roster. It's struggle season right now, man.
Roger said that your camera bumped out. I don't know if you can log back in and see how that
goes. Yeah. I'm doing like a million things.
Roger says they've played 8 double headers. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. You get a dome, though. You don't have to worry about that
I'm just saying.
You don't have to worry about them rainouts. You
haven't been that many rainouts this year.
Then why is there so many double headers? Not a lot of rainouts in Cleveland, then.
Yeah.
Not a lot of rainouts in Cleveland. As far as
it's other states, man.
So before I went on my tirade,
That's what you call it.
Cincinnati Bengals fans, the big question is during this Joe Burrow era, this is the first time as he heads into year 5. This is the furthest into preseason that he's made it, right? He has never completed a full preseason. He's officially done that. Now all attention is going towards week 1. Obviously, people will keep an eye on what's going on with Jamar Chase. Will he be out there or not? He was out there on Sunday, off yesterday. Will he be out there today? I haven't followed social media. I'm assuming he's out there. I have no idea. I don't even
haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. So it'd be the most, by the way, I've been very calm when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. I will unleash if he skips today. He showed up to practice Sunday, decides not to come today. If now he's just jerking people around. Now, Bengals fans should be furious about that too. I don't think that's what's going on, but you never know. He's a wild cat. Like you never know. So the Bengals open up at home against the Patriots, at Chiefs in week 2, Commanders week 3, and then of course the Panthers in week 4. Home, away, and then home against the Ravens in week 5. That's kind of a big one there, right?
Indeed.
Not kind of a big one. That is a big one there.
Huge.
Slow starts. Joe Burrow is the longest in the preseason that he's ever made it. So the injury excuse, even though he's coming off of a season-ending injury, we were told before camp started he was, 100%. He makes it through the full preseason. And as we sit here right now, everything's good outside of the Jamar Chase contract situation. This is a very, very healthy team. I know there's some guys that are out banged up, but like the core of this team is fine heading into the 2024 season. What is considered a slow start? What is a slow start for the Cincinnati Bengals? Is 2-2 an okay start by your standards? Look at who they play to open this season up. The Patriots, Commanders, Panthers, 3 of the first 4 weeks, week 2 at the Chiefs. If you start out 3-1, that to me is a hot start. 4-0, obviously, ideally. 3-1 is very realistic. You're at Kansas City. And we all know that every time those two teams play, when Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are healthy, that comes down to the final possession every single time. So if you slip up and lose that game, final possession at Arrowhead, all right, it's one of those where that's a forgivable loss. You're going to be sick to your stomach. You lose to a rival, but It's a forgivable loss. I don't think it's forgivable to lose to the Patriots, Commanders, Panthers. Now, I don't think that your season's over if you lose to any of those teams, but I think you could a 2-2 start, a 1-3 start. I think that falls in the slow start category, considering who you play before the Ravens coming up in week 5.
Man, 1-3, yeah, that's beyond a slow start. That's a nightmare start.
Yep,
1-3. I'm looking at them to go 3-1. 3-1.
I think 3-1's realistic. That's where I have them, and could be 4-0.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Chiefs,
I mean,
it's
like
not like a guaranteed loss. We're just
right.
saying of the 4 games that they play to start, the one that you could see them losing is the Chiefs. I could see them winning it. All right, but we're just looking at realistically, like they should not. If you are a Super Bowl contender, you're not losing to the Commanders, the Panthers, or the Patriots. I don't. When you have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, I just don't see how that's possible.
I know we're still weeks away from the actual real football, but what do you think their favorite versus the Pats?
Man, I saw on I don't know where. I think you can find the lines. I need to pull up ESPN Bet and see what I haven't checked the lines.
I have it here.
You have it there?
I have it available.
All right. So ESPN Bet, the lines are
Bengals are favored by 9 over the Pats
against the Patriots. Okay.
In week 1.
I think that's a possession and change. Yeah, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May, it's not a quarterback issue. I like Jacoby Brissett. Drake May could very well be a very solid rookie quarterback. Who the hell are they throwing it to?
Me.
You're bringing a spoon to a knife fight. What up, Spoon? We haven't heard from Spoon, by the way. Yeah. So, yeah, 9-point favorite. I see that, especially at home.
Yeah.
You think you get 3 just for being at home in that particular situation. So, yeah, 9-point favorite. Yeah, I think that they win that and they cover that. I don't think that's a game, if you will.
Yeah, so they're 3.5 dog to the Chiefs in week 2.
They're a dog to 3, and again, that's basically a pick 'em at that point. But 3.5, that's an interesting line. That's an interesting line. Look, Kansas City, I love Kansas City, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, but let's not act like that offense. I think more people, as much as people fear Patrick Mahomes, more teams around the league fear the Bengals offense as a whole than they fear Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense.
Okay.
And that's kind of what it comes down to. I get the Chiefs at home again. Like I said, I'm not really going to pick in this particular situation. It's basically history tells you whoever has the ball last. Whoever has the ball last, it's really what this comes down to. That's the best rivalry, best matchup in the NFL right now. As far as non-division rivalries, I don't think anything comes close to that one. So, yeah, I could see the Chiefs, the 3.5. If it's just a 3-point favorite, it's one thing, but the 3.5 is what's intriguing. I would take, if the Chiefs win, it's by a field goal. So I would take the under as far as that's concerned, but who knows?
How explosive do you think the Chiefs are going to be offensively this year? They've added, obviously, Worthy from Texas. They've added Hollywood Brown. Not sure what's going on with him and his health, but they just cut Kadarius Toney. But obviously, they still have Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey.
You saw a guy that did not pan out for them that I know you were high on this kid too, Justin Ross. They cut him today. He was super talented wide receiver out of Clemson.
Yeah.
Did not work. They cut him. I thought that was interesting. Thought about that earlier today. Look, Kadarius Toney, it looks like that ain't gonna. He's done.
Yeah.
Right. He's Super Bowl champion. Right. It sounds like they might be going after Juju Smith-Schuster.
The return.
Juju was visiting with them yesterday, I believe. So their offense is not as explosive as the Bengals, but I think as a whole, you still have Travis Kelce, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Andy Reid, and again, that's been good enough to win you back-to-back Super Bowls. But again, the Chiefs, they're all about Patrick Mahomes. It's about that defense. That's why I keep telling the Bengals, you guys are so damn obsessed with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. That's great. You want to lock down Jamar Chase, that's great. You have the highest-paid quarterback in the league, that's great. What are you doing on defense? Because this idea that, man, we got to keep up with the Chiefs. We got to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. No, you don't. The Chiefs are not one of the most efficient offensive teams in football. They're just not. But again, the results speak for themselves. You have a high caliber quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, but you have one of the best defenses in the league. The Bengals defense doesn't match up. That's the concern and problem. So the Bengals defense, not the worst. It's not the best. I think it's going to keep the door open for the Chiefs to remain in that game to keep up with the Bengals offense. And that's the problem. The Bengals are a Big 12 team. They score a lot of points. I think they're going to allow teams to remain in games because they could score points on them.
How much better you think the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to be with the addition of Stone, who they stole or, got a free agent from the Ravens? So you make your team better by making them worse. And then also the return of Von Bell. how much better you think the defense is going to be.
Well, I didn't think they should have lost Von Bell last year, as you know. I thought that the Bengals got a little too hoity-toity for themselves. Oh, we don't need Von Bell. We need Von Bell. Come on back. Also, the Ravens, when's the last time the Ravens just let a good defender go?
They let 2 go.
As far as impact in their team.
Oh, that weren't able to replace?
Yeah. Maybe he comes in and makes a big difference. They can't be any worse than they were last year. So there's going to be a slight improvement. But the Ravens didn't fight too damn hard to keep him at the same time. So all I'm saying is he's good. How good? I know statistically backs it up. But again, stats, make numbers sing and dance all you want. David Shaw says Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback. Very explosive as far as that's concerned. Yeah. We'll see. But so you said 3.5 as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else we got for week 3, line-wise?
Week 3, who do they got? They have the Commander. That line is not available yet.
Okay. So those are the first 2. Real quick, let's go to the phone lines. I know he's been on hold for a few minutes. Let's go 518-1410. By the way, we're back in studio doing the show live in studio. So the phone lines.
Can't you hear the
lawnmower? They haven't mowed in the 2 months we've been gone, right? Now we are back in studio, WING, 1410 Wing AM, WING Studios, 518-1410. Let's go to Mikey. Mikey, how are you, sir?
How are you guys today?
Great.
Good. Why? I want to ask you both. I'll ask about the Seahawks first, but then after that, I got a question I want to ask you guys. How do you guys think the Seahawks are going to do this year?
Well, last year, I'm a big, not just Mike. We've always been best friends. I always tell you what you want to hear, right? No, I've been really high on the Seattle Seahawks. I think they have one of the most impressive wide receiver corps in all of football. When they had a Jackson Smith and Jigba to Tyler Lockett, obviously, and company. Why do I always forget the big guy's name? I always forget DK Metcalf every year. Every year I do this to you, Kev. But DK Metcalf, obviously, and you look at that trio of wide receivers. I love Kenneth Walker. I love the run game. The offensive line, obviously, that's something that they had to button up from last year, but overall the defense is much improved. I love the Witherspoon pick from last year, the defensive back from Illinois. I think that the Chargers, I think that the Seahawks are absolutely loaded, but I think they're going to go as far as their quarterback takes them. I think they're set up to go on a deep run. They were my sleeper team last year. They just put me to sleep halfway through the year, Mikey. I don't know.
Oh my God. Me too.
How much better do you think they are? How much better do you think they are this year?
Well, I it's hard to say because I don't know a whole lot about this new coach. And that's what I was going to ask you guys. What do you think of him? I mean, do you think that and if they do achieve, let's say they get in the playoffs this year,
yep.
And let's say they go further in the playoffs, maybe they don't get to the Super Bowl. But don't you think some of that credit has to go to Pete Carroll though, because he helped put that team together?
I mean, Pete Carroll, how long has it been?
14 years he was head coach. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. But, I mean, they're bringing in a new coach for a reason, right? The things probably got stale.
Well, yeah. Well, that happens to a lot of coaches, though, Kevin. I mean, basketball and football, the game. I'm not saying the game passed him by, because isn't there talk of him taking going to another team as head coach?
I know that Pete Carroll is the youngest 72-year-old I've ever seen in my life. I can tell you that.
Oh, I think he could coach till he's 80 or 85 years old. Yeah, absolutely. Do you agree with Justin, though, Kevin? Do you think that they're loaded this year and could go?
I like them. I like their offensive weapons. Obviously, they're bringing in the Baltimore Ravens defensive coach to be their head coach, so you're expecting that defense to be a lot better than it was last year. Their run defense was absolutely terrible last year. Secondary was pretty good, but, you're bringing him in there to shore things up and kind of, bring back that Pete Carroll Legion of Boom type of defense. And to go along with this explosive offense, I mean, there's no question about the guys that they have on the offensive side of the ball. But, I mean, you still have to go up against the 49ers. Everybody is high, obviously, on the 49ers. But the Rams, the Rams are my sleeper team out there, with Cooper Kupp and Pua Nakua, and then my favorite quarterback, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Well, I think if there's a team out there, though, that's got a bunch of young players that's not expected to do much this year, though, if I was the owner of that team, I would hire Pete Carroll, because as I told Justin before, I don't think there's any coach in the NFL is capable of handling young ball players better than Pete Carroll. He reminds me a little bit of Billy Martin in baseball. Martin was the greatest manager of handling young ball players.
Look, that team that you're talking about, too, Washington Commanders, obviously, that's a young team that they could have used that. And look, in the bottom line is Pete Carroll, to his credit, one of the few coaches that's been able that learned how to coach and build up and win championships at the high level in college, and his personality be able to translate to the NFL and still be able to coach and mold talent. You could say that obviously things fell, that maybe got a little dicey with Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is yet to prove that it wasn't him that was the problem at some point in Seattle towards the end. So who knows?
Well, Justin, before we go, there's two quick things. First, I wanted to tell you what an honor it was to meet you at that ball game that night.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mike, you repeat that. I was doing two things at once and got distracted. But no, it was nice meeting you too. It's nice to put a face with the name finally. Now I know who was calling me names all those years ago.
And Kevin, I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you. But listen, I want to ask you guys something. I'm not on the internet. Do you guys know any old bookstores that sell old used magazines? Because I'm looking for. You remember the magazine, Sport Magazine?
Mm-hmm. You can go to trading shows and things like that. You can always go to the local library, and they normally have older magazines there. I mean, you can't keep them, but like you can read them there. Or even
I'd like to add them to my collection. I'm looking for October '62, and I'm looking for May of '68 because Willie Mays is on the front cover, and that's not why I want those issues. There's boxing stories in each one. The '62 issue. It's got Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis picked the winner of the Patterson-Liston fight. And then the '68 issue has an article on Jerry Quarry, and I'd like to get those.
I know you just said you weren't on the internet, but the only place you're going to be able to get those is eBay.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, Kevin, is there any way you could look up those for me and order those if you can find them, and I'd pay you back?
Sure. I'll take a look on eBay, and you can give me a call back here, and I'll let you know the price. But just be prepared to spend a pretty penny.
Yeah, I know. Well, you never know though. You might luck out and everything. But listen, it's nice talking to you guys.
Thank you,
Mikey. That's the producer's music. We gotta go. We'll be right back. Kinner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM.
I'd rather ride a bike with my kids.
Faster! I'd rather play catch with my dog.
p.m. We are live on the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. We are live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. We're just live back in front of the camera moving forward for the rest of the football season. So it's always a lot of fun, especially come football season. Monday is always a blast. So, coming off the weekend, everyone's emotionally charged from their college football Saturday. Everyone either wants to, make fun of me for being wrong about the Browns and the Bengals or hearing how I'm going to, discredit their win. Like, I already know we should play a little game.
Oh, I'm always
How am I going to discredit the Bengals wins this season? So game one, Kev, the Cincinnati Bengals take on the New England Patriots. The Cincinnati Bengals, they beat the Patriots. How will Kinner discredit the Bengals win week one?
They didn't beat them by enough.
Didn't beat them by enough, probably. It's just the Patriots. Wow, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. You needed 4 full quarters to beat Jacoby Brissett. I mean, come on. Yeah. We'll guess my take. There we go.
We can definitely do that. Quick question. How do you feel about Thursday night, obviously kicking off the season with the Ravens and the Chiefs? Chiefs go back-to-back tough, actually. They go with the Ravens and then the Bengals. That is pretty tough back-to-back.
That is quite open to the season. Speaking of slow starts.
You and I make a big deal about the back half stretch for our teams, the Browns and the Steelers, but they open the season pretty tough. I'm not sure who else they play to open the month of the season, but going with the Ravens and Bengals in back-to-back weeks, that's prime time.
Prime time, but look, this is kind of wild. I mean, no, it's 3 straight weeks of prime time. So the Bengals matchup week 2 is 4:25, but again, that's that's the key slot for CBS, right? So it's 3 straight primetime games, 4 straight primetime games, 5 straight primetime games. If are we considering the CBS 4:25 slot primetime? Yeah. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 straight primetime slots to start the season. The Ravens.
How many of those are home games?
The Ravens are home, the Bengals are home, and then road. So split. But listen to this schedule for the Chiefs to open up. The Ravens week 1, the Bengals week 2. And then you got a game that maybe a year ago I would not have really circled, but the Chiefs at the Falcons is very intriguing.
Everybody's high on the Falcons except for me.
I love what the Falcons did. I love the fact that they go out and they added another safety. They go out and get Justin Simmons, and they already had, of course, Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they go get Judon. They get him the pass rusher up front, and they actually were they were one of the best defenses in the NFL last year. No one talked about it because they were just so putrid offensively as far as that's concerned. So I like, and plus I'm a big Kirk Cousins guy to a certain extent.
Wait, how can you be a big Kirk Cousins guy to a certain extent?
Because he's not Desmond Ridder. Falcons fans were trying to tell me Desmond Ridder was going to be something. He's something. He's unemployed right at the moment. I see people are a little mean today. He got cut, and he did a commercial a year ago. He had endorsed DoorDash. What up, DoorDash Ray? If you're out there, DoorDash Ray, how are you? But he was doing an endorsement for DoorDash. So people right away, it's him holding the DoorDash bag, standing at the front door saying, next time you see Desmond Ridder, it could be him at your front door holding the DoorDash bag, which very well might be true. You never know. But they are the Ravens, Bengals at home, and then they're at the Falcons and at the Chargers. Falcons, Chargers. I don't think anyone's putting money on either of those two winning a Super Bowl, but those are wild card teams. And I don't mean wild card playoff teams. Those are wild card teams because their floor is pretty low, but I think their ceilings are pretty high just because you can't, as much as Harbaugh drives me up the dang wall, let's not act like coaching in the league matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see him, although this may not be the most talented team that Justin Herbert's played on in recent years, watch this be the most successful team that he's played on during his time with the Chargers. We'll see what happens. That defense is still locked in.
Yeah.
They kept all the money on the defensive side of the ball. They're relying on Quentin Johnson to take that next step, who I was very high on coming out of TCU last year. I thought, man, when you added that to Keenan Allen, when you added that to the weapons that they had, I was like, man, that's a huge get for Justin Herbert and the Chargers, who Quentin Johnson fell into the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of looking like he's trending towards bust.
Yeah.
But if he puts it together and he ends up it's a young wide receiving core, we'll see what happens. But Justin Herbert and the Chargers in week 4 and then the Falcons in week 3. An interesting start, a very tough start to the season for the Chiefs. And let's be real, they kind of get a little bit of a break against the Saints in week 5, and then they're at San Francisco week 6.
They're loaded. Good thing they're playing the AFC West.
Your back half schedule or their front half schedule?
Front half.
Yeah, I think so.
Front half.
That's not, to be fair, though, that's not as brutal. Well, I mean, let's be real here. Hold up. You're playing in your first 6 weeks, you're playing 3 Super Bowl contenders. And you're playing two playoff caliber.
How many?
3 Super Bowl
Oh,
contenders.
I went all the way up to the preseason because I saw the Lions on there. I was like, man, that's more than that. Okay, so now I'm with you. You said the first how many weeks again?
3 of the first 6 weeks of the season.
Ravens, Bengals,
Niners.
Okay. You
yep. know? So that's and by the way, even the easiest team that they play, and again, I know this is a dangerous game because every year things change so much. But even the Falcons Chargers are games that I guarantee you the Chiefs will be favored, but I don't think that they're going to just roll over those teams. I think that the Saints is the easiest one as far as that goes. But yeah, you can get out to a slow start and build back up. Well, they're playing easier teams, and while you're having to play every team in the AFC North twice and play the Chiefs and play, I think who else?
The Eagles.
The Eagles. Yeah, that's a gauntlet.
Good times. Good times on Wednesday, December 25th on Netflix. Chiefs and Steelers.
On December,
I'll be crying on Christmas.
La 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 la. Merry Christmas, as far as that goes. All right, it's Kinner Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Ron Howard, Justin, where's your Watson jersey? You want me to get a Watson jersey? I'll wear it. I'll wear it. Dare me. You think I won't?
Are you going to go to the Bengals and Browns game in Cincinnati this year?
Well, I know I have 2 full-time jobs now. I know I'm just rolling in the money, but I don't think I can afford to go to that still.
Money bag Kinner.
You seen the price of our Bengals
I have
Browns
not.
games?
I can look though.
I mean, it's what happens when a good team comes to Cincinnati. It's what happens. Let
me see how much these tickets are.
Roger says Netflix and the NFL on Xmas, a tradition like no other.
Get ready because it's not going anywhere. This is where it is.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Earhart. What up, Jordan? Jordan, he goes, that's definitely library work, referencing what you was asked of you earlier. I did that a lot for people. So, yeah.
Browns at Bengals, Vivid Seats. You can get tickets right now for $113 on December 19th. It's a Thursday night game.
Oh, that's not
That's not bad.
So when the schedule was released and the tickets officially, went out, but maybe, I don't know. I can afford $113 ticket.
Yeah, big money.
I can afford to go by myself.
Who's Nora's team?
She don't really care. She hates NFL season because she likes it because she just comes out to Frickers every Sunday and she just has some drinks with me or whatever. But she hates the NFL season because we can't do anything on the weekends.
Right.
Hey, so and so at work wants us to go hiking with them this week. I'm like, no, High State plays. Oh, what about Sunday? No, NFL. Well, what about March? What about the end of March? what about April? What about April? So
see you in April.
It's that time of year as far as that's concerned. All right, Kinner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. It's podcast season.
Indeed.
Travis and Jason Kelsey are signing a 3-year, $100 million deal with Amazon for their podcast New Heights.
Hey,
$100 million.
Man, oh man.
They're each going to get paid $15 million. I mean, look, Travis is doing everything he can to keep up with his girl.
You're gonna have to do a lot more to make the type of money she makes.
He's got to do quite a few podcasts a year just to come close to making a fraction of that. So, how about this? Shocker. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. to start regular season on the PUP list. Will miss at least the first 4 games. That damn Baker Mayfield, I tell you. That Baker Mayfield ruined Stonehand's career. I'll never forgive Baker Mayfield for ruining the career of Odell Beckham Jr. Man, I was wrong on him.
One of us was right.
Sorry, but I was sticking to the podcast season. Angel Reese is getting a podcast. So Angel Reese tweets out a little bit ago, Little Miss keeps the bag, makes y'all mad, stays in y'all bag, never cared about what y'all say about her, basketball player, model, businesswoman, broadcaster, influencer, and actress, etc., is starting her own podcast. I'm taking my voice back and clearing all the false narratives. I hope you all are ready. First of all, I love these types of podcasts. I love when the very outspoken athletes get podcasts because those are the more entertaining ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be real. Like the fact that Draymond Green has one, that's a firecracker every single day. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Now, usually this is why I'm not for post-game press conferences, because Draymond actually does a good job of being calm in podcasts, but you catch him being crazy after a game because he's all fired up.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh yeah, she's going to, the problem with Angel Reese, she stirs a lot of stuff up and then does what did I do? Who, me? That's why I'm going to look forward to this podcast. I can't wait to see how she's going to twist things to say, I didn't do that. I don't have any problem with Caitlin. I love Caitlin. Caitlin and we're BFFs. I can't wait. And it's not going to be about Caitlin. I get that. But bottom line is I'm actually looking forward to that. I wish more players like the elite player, like LeBron. I love that he does that podcast, even though that was more of a job. That was a LinkedIn job search for his next head coach. I get that. But yeah, it is what it is. Are you surprised 10 years ago, if you would have said athletes would be having podcasts, everyone would have lost their minds. There's no way. Now, it's just common. It's just common.
Yeah, I saw they were talking about it. Maybe it was on Undisputed or one of the FS1 shows talking about Micah Parsons, and he should not have a podcast. And I just thought that was like one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life. Like, what's the problem? Plenty of athletes have weekly radio hits like they do. Tom Brady had a weekly radio hit in Boston. Yeah. So like, what? There's no difference if he's going to go on the air and talk to the reporters for 45 minutes to an hour. What's the difference between somebody recording them talking about, their sport that they love and also getting paid for it? And I can guarantee you this, Tom Brady was getting paid to do that hour of radio with the folks over there in Boston. So absolutely no problem with it. I had noticed an interview that Angel had recently. She plays for Chicago Sky, and the Democratic National Convention was in town, and they asked her about Vice President Harris, and she did a great job by answering, hey, I'm not that well versed on everything that's going on in politics. I'm encouraging everybody to go out there and do their own research and vote. That was the best answer you could possibly give, because you're acknowledging that, hey, I'm not that well versed. It's almost, she's a black woman. Vice president is a black woman. So you're expecting her to go out there and vote. And then you get cornered into a different conversation that you're not. Chicago, you're not versed in, and you get stuck out there looking silly. So I'm hopeful that she's had better media training so she can handle having a podcast, because you're right. She'll say something and then retract that something and then contradict that something by her actions and things of that nature. So, it's when you jump into this world of podcasting, especially as a celebrity, be prepared to have that stuff used against you the next time you're a talking point about your basketball playing days, or a hard foul happens or anything like that. All that stuff is there for public consumption and public record, and will be used against you if it doesn't line up to how your actions go.
Yeah, because I was like a huge Angel Reese fan when she was the badass that was the badass on the mic and on the floor. What I stopped liking was stirring the pot on the floor and then going to the mic and being like, what'd I do? I didn't do anything. Like, that drives me nuts, Kev, whether it is female athlete, male athlete, it has nothing to do with anything other than it's an athlete opinion, right? That drives me. To Draymond's credit, he's stubborn as all get out. He don't feel bad about nothing. He might say, maybe I could have handled that differently, but like, he justifies everything that he does. Like that's why I'm interested about this podcast. You can't, when Caitlin Clark gets hip checked to the floor and you stand up and you cheer and then act like, why is everyone mad at me? I didn't hip check her to the floor. I didn't do anything. It's okay. Just say, yeah, I love the toughness of my team. We're not letting anyone push us around. Just say stuff like that. Like, then I don't have a problem. I just don't like the gaslighting to the fans and to the media. Don't make it like the media is the problem. Oh, we're spinning things. No, we're not. You like what? How are we spinning things when you are acting a certain way and acting like we're crazy for talking about it? So it is what it is. But she's one of the most recognizable female athletes out there, and she's definitely going to get a huge following with that. You talked about how much those athletes are getting paid to do that. I bet you it's been getting pretty close to what she's getting paid to play the game.
Absolutely. She's probably going to make more off this podcast than she makes playing in the W. I mean, she already makes more than that from Revlon and her Reebok deal and whatever other deals that she got out there. I mean, not to be talking about people's money, but I mean, we all saw what the rookie wage scale was in the WNBA. And when you think about that type of money that she's making and living in Chicago, or what the rookies are making that play for the Sparks, like, you're living in Los Angeles making $40,000. I know where you're living. Like, if you were making $40,000 living in Los Angeles,
working radio,
you're not living in the quote unquote best of areas. But if you make $40,000 and live in Indianapolis, you probably can find you a nice place, let alone that $1 million contract that you got with Nike. You know what I'm saying? So like, those off the court money that they're making is vital for the WNBA players.
Kinner Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. Lane Kiffin against the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh,
I really want an Ohio State Ole Miss matchup in the playoff. Can you imagine in the playoff? Like, sometimes it is weird how things come together. Don't be surprised if at the end of the year, those built-in stories. Let's go all the way back to August. When a tweet from Lane Kiffin, one of those little feature pieces. Oh, yes.
Lane Train.
I love it. By the way, Lane Kiffin, I used to not be a Lane Kiffin guy. He's actually a coach. And I'm probably one of his biggest fans out there. I'm not an Ole Miss fan. I don't really care about Ole Miss when I'm just a big. He reminds me of the makeup of a Saban, of an Urban, of just those guys that it's all football. He has a quirky personality. But they have to deliver nonetheless. But he had an interesting tweet regarding the Ohio State Buckeyes and how they constructed their roster. Is he wrong for putting it out there, or did he just state the obvious? We'll get to all that when we come back. Plus, I found an interesting little article, or a little write-up, I should say, from Brett McMurphy. Murphy's Law. He has Brett McMurphy's Law. And I'll explain what that is when we come back. More of the Kinner Kev Show next. see the Houston Texans release Noah Brown today.
wait.
Noah Brown, that massive game against Oklahoma. I'll always remember that. That 4-touchdown performance. Wasn't that in the loss? Was that in the loss? Or was
No,
that
was in the win. That was the one
win.
at Oklahoma. Yeah. I always thought Noah Brown left school a year too early.
I know he's with the Cowboys for a while. He showed glimpses last year. I mean, he's always showed glimpses. He even showed glimpses throughout his NFL run, but they're so deep at wide receiver. Heck, they have John. Is it Mechie?
Yeah.
Is it Michi or Mechie?
Mechie. He's on the trading block.
I would say Michi because of Michi Johnson. I always get like, but Mechie, I saw that they were open to trading him.
Mm-hmm.
How much? I know he had the cancer. He had cancer scare right off the bat, right? So I'm just kind of curious. Like that was a good draft pick too.
Yeah,
another Browns draft pick that was given to them, by the way. But they're so dang low. They go ahead and they have Tank Dell, obviously. You have Stephon Diggs. You have Nico Collins. You have Mechie. Very interested what his value is, and I wonder if the Texans are trying to figure out a way to like show his value in the regular season and then trade him by the deadline or a season from now. I'm very curious to see what his value is, Mechie.
I think his value is higher right now than it's going to be during the regular season because this is the NFL. This isn't college where you run a 4 wide receiver set. It's normally 3 wide receivers and the tight end on those type of plays. So I'm not sure how much burn he's going to get barring injury. So I think his trade value is high. It's going to be right now. I think you can get maybe like a 5th, 6th round pick for him.
Yeah. Ron Howard says the Bucs just cut Sterling Shepard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Are there any surprise cuts out there? By the way, Dove Kleiman, this is what he gets. He deserves this because he just copies him. The Bengals apparently had cut. Oh crap! Why am I drawing a blank? So sorry, guys. My bad. I started this. He had tweeted out earlier today that the Bengals had cut a name that nobody believed that they actually cut. Oh, I have it right here. It was so Dove Kleiman copied and pasted that the Bengals had cut Miles Murphy, and
from Clemson.
Miles Murphy's a solid piece for them. Like they would not have cut him, but because another reporter that had heard that a Murphy was released, it was another Murphy. He said he goes, and by the way, this other reporter said, "My apologies. I was typing too fast. I just got the wrong Murphy. My apologies. I own that. I need to pay more attention." He owned it. But Dove Kleiman, what he's disliked for around the NFL circles and media circles is he'll take Josina Anderson, he'll take Mina Kimes, he'll take Adam Schefter, and he'll copy and paste their tweet and just retweet it. And that's how he's built up his Twitter following.
Tweet it as if his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's smart because then when it gets picked up, because people are looking at Twitter lifetime, so for information, they see it, they retweet it, and then it takes off like wildfire.
Right.
Wildfire. So, anyways, he got busted with that today. He deserved it.
Busted.
But and guys in the chat, has there been a player that was cut today that just kind of really surprised you? I brought up Noah Brown. That doesn't really surprise me just because the wide receiver depth that's over in Houston. But has there been any cuts today that caught you by surprise?
No. I mean, obviously, we talked about it. Kadarius Toney, 2-time Super Bowl champion Kadarius Toney being released by the Chiefs. But I haven't seen anybody out there that's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's been cut. Maybe what's my guy's name? He was on the same team with Chase and Justin Jefferson, Marshall from LSU. He got cut by the Panthers. He was looking like he's supposed to be their second wide receiver for them. So I think that's probably like the biggest name or biggest surprise, I should say, that's been released.
Yeah, so Ron says Sterling Shepard. I haven't seen anyone else chime in with any names. We'll keep an eye on that. Reds news from earlier today, or not really earlier today, earlier before the show started. Nick Lodolo has been added to the 15-day injured list, left middle finger sprain, and again, it's a move that's retroactive to the 24th. So a couple days ago, shut them all down. Just shut them all down. You're 12.5 back of the division. You're 8 back of the wild card. Since the All-Star break, I came across this graphic a little bit ago. Let me go back to it because I'm curious your thoughts on the old guards.
Would you be saying that if NFL season wasn't here?
No, I'm saying that just because injuries have absolutely decimated this team all season long. So it's just kind of one of those things where you have nothing left to play for. You literally have nothing left to play for. By the time he gets back here in the next 2 weeks, will only be like a little over 3 weeks of the season left. What's the point? You're not playing for the division. You're not playing for the wild card. Hunter Green, same thing. That they avoided disaster there. He gave an update on the Valley Sports pregame on Sunday that it was just a little inflammation in the elbow. That everything's fine. It's your elbow that you've already had Tommy John on once.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm good. Now, he has Cy Young like stuff. His numbers, if the Reds are more in contention and Hunter Green doesn't go on the IL, his last great start against the Cardinals was one of the games that helped sweep them. Everyone bought back into the Reds for a brief stint, and Hunter Green's name was being pushed all over as a potential Cy Young candidate. He could win a Cy, but the Reds have fallen so far since then. Nah, they got swept they dropped 3 or 4 against the Pirates, and they got swept by Kansas City. Like they're just not good. The Reds are no longer good. There's no longer to risk it. This team has been decimated by injuries all season. The season has just been hijacked by injuries. It's made the season tough to follow, tough to watch. I don't want that bad mojo being taken into next season. Any serious arm injury that happens now puts you out a whole calendar year till this time next year. And now we're talking about Hunter Green in 2026. I don't want that. I don't want to see Nick. The next time I see Hunter Green, it better be on the mound on opening day in 2025 at Great American Ballpark. That's the next time I see Hunter Green, it better be on opening day. Now he could get a couple starts in spring training. Just get that loosened up. But you know what I mean. The next real game I see him in, it better be opening day next year. How about this? Since the All-Star break, the Cincinnati Reds are 16-18. And that's what's wild. They're still 500. That's just what they are. By every sense of the imagination with this team, and I think they're about to plummet because they're facing a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. It's brutal. But by every just way you look at it, they're always within a couple games of 500 over or under.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know how to pull away and sustain a run. It is what it is. But the Guardians, Kev, since the All-Star break, what do you think they are?
They definitely have a losing record. I think I actually saw it's like 17-20 or something like that.
17-20, the Guardians are since the All-Star break. And right now they had a 8-game lead at the All-Star break. They are gripping on and holding on for dear life to a 1-game lead over the Kansas City Royals. Yeah. So they have a 1-game lead against the Kansas City Royals and a 2.5-game lead over the Minnesota Twins. The Reds just got swept by the Royals a week and a half ago. They got the Twins coming up around the corner. All right. Now the Reds have a game 1 tonight with a bad A's team. Okay. But it's just kind of one of those things where, and man, the Reds, they were swept by the Tigers and they were swept by the Royals. They got the Twins coming up. Kind of a rough little stretch. Rough little stretch for the old Reds. But yeah, Cleveland holding on to that 1-point lead. So keep an eye on their record because at first I wasn't even paying attention to the American League wild card for the Cleveland Guardians, mainly because they had such a commanding lead in the AL Central. They are holding on to a 1-game lead. They're 3-7 in their last 10. We just talked about the Guardians record since the All-Star break. They have not been very good. They're 17-20. Okay. So with that being said, they're 75-57 overall. If they relinquish the lead of the division, okay, you look at the wild card standing. What did I just say the record was? My ADD got the best of me.
Their record is 75-57.
75-57. That would be good enough to give them the second wild card spot. But here's the problem: they would not be in the wild card spot at this point. Here's why: 75 wins is good enough to have the second best record in the American League. They'd be holding on to that second wild card spot, but the teams right behind them in the wild card would be the Kansas City Royals, the Minnesota Twins. So if those two teams who are red hot right now, if they pass the Guardians in the AL Central, that means they've technically surpassed the Guardians in the wild card. Keep that in mind. Now, luckily, the AL Central is going to be the wildest finish to the season, and here's why.
Absolutely.
The Red Sox, they're 4-6 in their last 10. They've lost 4 straight. So the White Sox are fighting for that. The White Sox are kind of falling out. They're 5 games back. This really comes down to the Baltimore Orioles, the wild card, and the remaining teams in the Central out of the American League. The Royals, the Twins, and the Guardians will be fighting for those final wild card spots. And I think you're going to have, of course, Baltimore and the Yankees kind of fighting back and forth amongst one another for that, for the NL East or AL East championship as far as that's concerned. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's going to be interesting. I think the Red Sox, they're 5 games out. They can go on a run, no doubt. I'm not paying attention to them. I'm paying attention to the Royals, the Twins. The Royals 74-58, the Twins 72-59, 2.5 back of the Guardians in the Central, but right there, nipping at their heels for the wild card as well. It's gonna be a fun. This is gonna be the most. I thought this was one of the most boring divisions coming into the year. This is gonna be one of the most exciting finishes to baseball this season.
Absolutely, everybody in their mind thought the AL Central hand race this guy was the worst division in baseball. It's turned out to be the most entertaining, and this is how you get back into your division race when you're trailing the team. You beat them, and that's what the Royals did twice yesterday. They beat the Guardians twice yesterday and cut that lead down to 1, and now they have 2 more with the Guardians, and the Guardians have to win these games. They have to win these 2 games because they're going to go out to they have a 3-game set with the Pirates, and then another 3-game set with the Kansas City Royals. And then this is where things get crazy for them because they're a 500 team on the road. They go on the road for 3, 6, 9 straight games. You got 3-game set with the Royals, 3-game set with the Dodgers, and then a 3-game set with the White Sox. Wow. So you have to win these 2 games with the Chiefs, Kansas City, Kansas City Royals. You have to. You got to get some type of cushion back in there because you're probably going to lose 2 or 3 out there in LA.
I mean, good for the Guardians. I mean, not good for the Guardians. Good for the Central. Not good for the Guardians. But hey, maybe you should spend some money.
Or maybe the All-Stars should play like All-Stars.
Maybe they need more All-Stars.
I mean, they had the most.
No, but
they had the most.
So,
Stephen Kwan is about to be hitting below 200. He started the season hitting out 400.
I'm a Reds fan. You want me to feel bad for you?
I'm just saying.
Bad for you.
I was just saying you could spend money, or the guys that were real good should be playing real good. The only guy that's getting on base is Hosey. Everybody else, dumpster fire.
I mean, the only guy they paid. No. Hold on, real quick. In all seriousness, you realize the perception, though.
Oh yeah,
is not
for sure.
Going to be good for the Guardians at this point. I remember opening day, or it was the week before. Was it opening day or the week before? I don't remember when it was. I remember we had Trace in here from Chatterbox,
and
I said, "Man, the Guardians. It's a bad precedent to keep winning when you're not spending money." And then the Guardians get off to this hot start because it was right before the injury to Justin Bieber. My gosh, Kinner, what the hell's wrong with you? Shane Bieber, the injury to Shane Bieber. So, and he got off to that hot start too before that injury, unfortunately. But I kept saying, man, oh man, the Guardians just always find a way to figure it out, right? But I kept saying, hey, the Guardians are a great story, but what happens if they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs? You're going to start getting the people like, well, why weren't you more aggressive at the deadline? Why didn't you spend more money in the offseason? Why are you bottom 5 in spending for 5 straight years? You're getting complacent with the money because your team, your developmental has been so hot that it's bailing you out. Well, what if they just missed the playoffs completely when you had a near double-digit lead at the All-Star break? For the longest time, you had the best record in baseball. And to go from having the best record in baseball to maybe missing the playoffs, that's not a good thing. That's not why I wanted to bring it to Guardians today, but that is going to be a talking point.
Oh, yeah, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. But I just don't think it can be passed over that they had 5 All-Stars and only one of those are playing like an All-Star. Mm-hmm. You can spend a whole bunch of money, but if the players that you're spending money on aren't playing well, then you're going to be like, well, you're paying these guys for nothing. Well, it's not like these dudes are making pennies on the dollar. They're very well compensated. I think the All-Star players, your superstar players that are due to get paid in the next 2 years need to be playing like the back of their trading card. Like, you're an All-Star. Yep. Play like an All-Star. Do what you did. Hit the ball. Get on base. Score the ball. How about catch the ball in the outfield?
Get out.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So, I mean, I'm not expecting them to play like they did a couple years ago where they're winning these pitching duels and things like that because that was brutal to watch. I like the fact that we're scoring runs, but apparently we need to score more runs. Apparently, because this ain't going to get it done.
Yeah, again, let me see what is their run differential? The Guardians, they're plus 71. I mean, but again, that number is
inflated.
Yeah, because from the run at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, they were dominant in the first half. Look, they have 94% chance of making the playoffs. That's a high number considering how hot those two teams are behind them. But either way.
No.
Ann Anderson, how are you, Ann? Great to hear from you. She points out that the Dayton Dragons, the Dayton Dragons are on their way to the Midwest League playoffs. And I love this point that she makes here, Kev. Now, if the Reds could just leave them the hell alone, they have a great chance for a first-time championship. Go Dragons. What she means by that is, hey, I know your roster's falling apart, and you're disappointing your fans at the major league level, but don't crap on your fans in the minor league level who are watching a playoff team who's good enough. They've been one of the greatest stories in minor leagues this season.
Yeah,
I had a chance to go watch a play a few weeks ago. Cam Collier's just an unbelievable talent. He doesn't pop off on the field, Kev. He's not super athletic. He's not very tall. But man, he has some power. Again, he won the Futures All-Star MVP during the All-Star break. Kid could play. They got a lot of kids that could play. A lot of great young men on that team. Keep that in mind. All right, Kinner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. I teased it a little bit ago, of course, that Lane Kiffin kind of seemed to subtly take a shot at the Buckeyes on social media. Was he wrong for pointing it out, or was what he was pointing out just accurate. We'll get to all of that as we wrap up our college football conversation when we come back. Then we'll dive back into some more NFL stuff coming up around the corner. It's the Kinner Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process.
Talked a little Guardians, talked a little Reds in the last part of the show. Scott Campbell. What up, Scott? Scott Campbell says this is why the All-Star game should be at the beginning of the year after spring training. Right now it's All-Star for the first half. I've always look this. It's all about making money for the league. I mean, it's a glorified award. It is what I don't need an All-Star game to tell me who the good players in the league are, but that's just kind of what it comes down to. I've said the same thing. I've always hated the fact that you get an All-Star nod goes such a long way in carrying your legacy on your resume. You talk about players all the time. He was a 7-time All-Star. Great. That means he played great for 2.5 months every year to start the season. Like, I don't need the All-Star to know that I don't need the All-Star totals for Derek Jeter or Ellie De La Cruz. Like, we know who's good, who's not. Ramirez, I don't need him to make an All-Star roster, but it is very silly. I don't know why. I think it was Alfredo Simon was a starting pitcher for the Reds years ago, and it was during the first rebuild, good Lord. And I think he won 13 games, Kev. He won 13 games. He had the most wins of any pitcher in baseball that year at the All-Star break. So he made the All-Star team. Kev, he had 13 wins at the All-Star break. You know how many wins he finished with at the end of the season?
13?
He was 14 and whatever he's like 14 and 8 or something. But he will always go down as an All-Star pitcher for pitching well for 2.5 months. I think that's what he's referring to. But those All-Stars that Kev referenced, that wasn't one of those situations. I'm not here to bury the Guardians. I've never once buried the players. I've buried the front office for you have good players and you have a lot of good players on the cheap. That means you have money to spend. Why not be you? It's the Guardians will never be the Dodgers, but when you have an opportunity to be the Dodgers where you could just keep spending, do it. You're not going to spend yourself into the poorhouse. You're just going to spend money that you have because you ain't spending it anywhere else. But no, I get what he's saying as far as that's concerned. But to Kev's point, you have All-Stars. I don't need an All-Star game or a nod to know that those players on the Guardians are good. They just need to play good. And really, that's the thing. You're going to be given more credit for playing well in the first half of the season, but you're fumbling the bag down the stretch. This is the time of year that matters. I don't care how well you played in April, May, and June. How are you playing now at the most crucial part of the season with the playoff aspirations on the line? So,
yeah, they're leaking a lot of oil right now. And to be honest, they have been leaking oil going into the All-Star break. Like, I was the main one saying, like, man, they need this All-Star break. They need to get to the break and chill out and reset. And to their credit, they played okay coming out of the break, but then ever since then, it's just been blah. They haven't even played 500 baseball. And that was the biggest talking point. Like, man, they can go 500 baseball the rest of the season, win 95 games, shoe in, they're good. No shoe in.
Speaking of spending or not spending money to build a championship roster, Lane Kiffin, head coach at Ole Miss, made some headlines yesterday for an article from ESPN.com that he tweeted out, okay? And its headline, How Ohio State Built a $20 Million National Championship or Bust Roster. So here's the thing about this tweet. He didn't type this tweet out, okay? If you go to ESPN.com and you click on an article, there'll be a little icon that you can click on. It'll say to tweet this story or to Facebook this story, okay? When you hit tweet this story or X this story or whatever it's called now, it'll populate the headline for you, and then you just hit post. That's all this guy did. But doesn't matter. He read the article. He thought it was intriguing enough to share to his social media, and it got people's attention. Sour grapes. There's the fact that obviously Ole Miss, he's turned into a very interesting program out of the SEC. They have aspirations to be really good. They were really good last year. They were supposed to be even better this year. And although they will be really good, they are missing a key weapon that made them as good as they were. That was I always say his name wrong.
Junkins.
Just say the last name. I was trying to give him the respect of the full name. But Kinshawn Junkins. No, I'm making him sound like
Quinshawn.
Like Quinshawn. Kinshawn. My gosh, what are you doing? All right. So Junkins, who obviously was going to be the running back at Ole Miss, is now one of 2 running backs at Ohio State. NIL, obviously, clearly, no doubt about it, played a role. All right. A better chance to win a national championship, probably viewed through the eyes of Judkins, no doubt about it. But the bottom line is every team is spending money in NIL. Every team is spending millions and millions of ridiculous amounts of dollars to build rosters. But Ohio State has become apparently the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's when the difference is that the programs that are mad at them have the capability to do it themselves. This isn't Ole Miss the Reds yelling at the Dodgers or Ole Miss the Reds yelling at the Yankees. This is Ole Miss, who can also go and find millions and millions of dollars to build a roster. And they have also spent millions of dollars to build theirs. Look, I get why he's a little salty. You stole a Heisman candidate from his roster, if that's what you want to say, stole. But the bottom line is, if you're not doing what Ohio State's doing, they're not doing anything wrong. You are. And that's kind of how I view this. Ohio State, everything that they do is going to be discredited because they bought it. Even though 10 years from now, if you're not doing what this Ohio State team is doing, you're not doing it right to begin with.
I think Lane Kiffin should be happy that he came to Ohio State as opposed to going to Alabama.
Yep.
I mean, he's from Montgomery, Alabama. He could have easily just went on home, but he didn't. He came to the Ohio State University. And, Junkins was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school. So, like, he wasn't, like, super highly touted by, everybody and their mom. But he showed up at Ole Miss, balled out of control. And to your point that you just brought up, they spent a lot of money, they being Ole Miss, in the transfer portal. And I always question, well, why is Junkins leaving there? Like, he's going to be the man there. They spent a lot of money to replenish the defense, to get better offensive linemen and better weapons on the team. Like, they should be pretty good there too. But it probably all comes down to seeing, like, I have a chance to win a national championship. Yep. Because I don't think that Ole Miss, no matter how much money they spent on this roster, is going to be able to win the national championship. I think we at Ohio State can win that national championship. And also, something that's probably very intriguing to him is, hey, maybe I don't carry the ball 250 times. Maybe my touches get cut in half. I get more explosive plays. I'm doing it with another big time running back. So instead of, one of us getting 300 touches, maybe we get 150 each and we're still super explosive. And then we can parallel that into NFL career and prolong our career. Because, I mean, you look at the amount of touches that he got at Ole Miss. Hey, 3rd and 10, swing pass. First down, run at the middle. 3rd down, screen pass. Like, the usage rate, I know usage rate is more of a thing that you hear in the NBA, but, like, he was the number one option on that team and he balled out of control, and rightfully so. But, like, maybe he's thinking of that as well. Like, I need to get these touches down so I can have a solid NFL career.
Yeah, because I always thought these dominant, like, especially running from a running back perspective, I think running backs, I think the transfer portal and the NIL explosion, you're going to see running backs become the biggest stars in college football moving forward, along with quarterbacks, obviously, be there at the top. But I think you're going to get more Judkins stories because look at the money in the NFL for running backs. Not as great. I think these guys can make millions up front right off the bat and improve their draft status and not have as heavy a workload on their shoulders in that final year. You're right. Ryan Day's biggest thing, and I'm not saying he hasn't been asked this, but I am curious. We're going to have Paul Keels, the voice of the Buckeyes, every Thursday starting this Thursday. Paul Keels will always kick off every Thursday show with us. I'm curious kind of his thoughts. Is this going to be like a baseball closer, starter closer situation? Like, are you going to ground and pound with Trevion Henderson to start and then Kinshawn Junkins come in and just run all over the place? And I think they get carries early on. But is it going to be a strategy of, all right, RB1 to start is so-and-so? I'm fascinated by the depth chart for Ohio State, which I did see the running back, or the wide receiver, by the way, Smith, is going to be a starter, true freshman, starting wide receiver, first time in a while.
Wow.
So
the rumors must be true. I've heard a lot of good things about Mr. Smith.
Yep. But
so Junkins, 289 touches as a true freshman, and then let's see how many 293 touches as a sophomore.
Yep.
Like, I've heard Trevion Henderson talk about this, and they asked him, like, how did you feel about Junkins coming to the school? And his whole approach was like, hey, I've been banged up my career here at Ohio State, so if you limit my touches and his touches, and I think we're equal, guess what? When one comes in, you're not losing a starter. You have another starter coming in. And I heard a lot of things from practice reports that they're not going to just be simply like, all right, man, you get it 2 times, then you get it 2 times. They're going to have pony sets where both of those guys are in the backfield at the same time. So expect explosive plays out the running game. So
pony sets, but who the opponent's set up for. You go you
Exactly.
hand it up to your left, or that would be my right with my left hand, or to your left with your right hand. I mean, yeah, good for Will
Misdirection.
Howard. Good for
Yeah.
Good for Will Howard. And hey, I see what Ryan Day is doing. Like, hey, I don't call the plays. How about that bum Chip Kelly? All right, Chips and Salsa Kelly over there. How about him? Get mad at him.
I sense a
Chuck,
lot
'cause
of
I'd be
wide
handing the
open.
ball off to you every time, but hey, I'm not the play caller.
Yeah, man. I'm expecting these dudes. I don't expect none of these guys to 20 carries max. I don't see that happening a lot. I don't see either of those guys getting more than 20 carries a lot this season. Seeing like 12 to 15 carries each.
Yep.
You're super fresh. You're not like, oh man, worn down at the end of the season, because that's what's happened with Travion Henderson. He's worn down and he's banged up. Well, guess what? How you stay fresh? You don't carry the ball a whole bunch of times. You're not running to the line of scrimmage. You're not like, hey man, third down, check down. Like, you're just adding to the team by having a dominant running back.
Yeah, and that's he's been wearing down. It's not a shot at Ohio State, but he's been wearing down, and they haven't had to play in a Big Ten championship game in a few years.
Bingo.
Well, that's just the reality of it. When's the last time Ohio State played in the Big Ten championship?
Don't remind me.
It's been 3 years. It's been 4 years. So he's been wearing down just after 12 games with a 12-game schedule. Guess what, Trevion? We need you for hopefully a 13th game and a 14th, a 15th, and a 16th game. If a conference champion, you get that first round bye, so you don't have to play up to 16 games, right? So there's that aspect of it. So yeah, I it'll be interesting how all this plays out. But I do think that is one thing. I know Tressel, when I did my interview with Tressel at UD Arena during the state tournament, he said the one thing that, well, everyone's like, oh man, Ohio State, which you can't have too much talent. But he kept talking about when he coached at Youngstown, and they do this playoff system, the 12 team. He said it wasn't about the most talented roster, it was the deepest roster.
Yep.
He said during his time coaching at Youngstown, the most talented roster never won the 12 team, never won that playoff format. It was always the team that had, all right, they have two very good running backs, but the team with the elite running back didn't make it.
Right.
A good quarterback with the good backup and solid running backs and good wide receivers, they won it all. But the team with the elite quarterback and the elite wide receiver, and no man, they have the best pass rusher, they don't win it all because it's it's a long season. It's a physical season.
Yeah.
By the way, you play nobody for the first month and some change of the season. I think that's the other thing too. I think they're going to be very careful with the carries that those two get. Losing one of those guys against Akron, losing one of those guys against, you know what I mean? Like Oregon, this is a month and some change preseason coming up. It's unfortunate. I do hate the schedule for Ohio State. I'm not going to lie. I hate it. Now, there are some teams, I don't need you to play somebody to know you're somebody. I know Ohio State's somebody, right? Like we know there's somebody, but like usually I say that about teams who only play one good team in the first couple weeks of the season. They don't play good team for the first month and a half of the season. That it is what it is. But hey, they've challenged themselves in years past. Unlike that cupcake diabetic schedule that Michigan played last year. Oof. Nonetheless. All right, Kinner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio.
We'll welcome in Pick Central for ESPN Dayton's high school football game of the week. Don't miss a second of the action as College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner have the call. The Wayne Warriors. Pick Central this Friday night at 7 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service.
It's the Kinner Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. You just heard it. Our week 2 game of the week. We're week 2 of the high school football season.
Wow.
Pick Central coming to town to take on the Wayne Warriors. Excited about that one. That's gonna be good. Wayne's explosive, Pick Central's explosive, and we have an explosive schedule for you this coming up high school football season. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself will be on the call for week 2 action live from High Camp Stadium, Huber Heights. The Wayne Warriors. Pick Central coming up this Friday night, 7 o'clock to kick off, and you can hear it right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and, of course, on 101.5 Hank FM. So there's that. All right. So let me get this straight. So the Browns announced their full roster. The Bengals, I think it's been kind of pieced together a bit as well. No surprise there. Burrow and Browning. The quarterbacks for the Bengals. Running back, you have Brown, Moss, and Trayvon Williams, of course, coming into the third running back. The wide receiver room, Burton coming in at wide receiver 6. That's interesting.
For now.
I always mispronounce his name. Ishavasser. I'm so sorry, Bengals fans. I do the show every day. It's weird the names I can say and can't. I can say Kostas Antetokounmpo, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can say that like super fast, not a big deal, right? No, but I can't say Yoshivas. There we go. Yoshi. Just going to call him Yoshi. But obviously Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Yoshi, receivers 1, 2, and 3. And then Trenton Irwin, Jones, and Burton down the list.
Paying some homage to the older guys.
Yeah. Sure. Maybe. Gesicki, tight end for the Bengals. Tight end number 1, of course. There you go. Offensive line for the Bengals. Obviously, you have Orlando Brown Jr., you have Volson, Karras, Kappa, Mims, Brown, Ford, Kirkland, and Lee. Now, keep in mind, Mims, that's unfortunate. I mean, what did you think? What was your takeaway when the Bengals drafted Mims?
He was the highest. Yeah. He was the highest rated guy out there, with the highest ceiling, everyone said, but like he didn't have a ton of starts because of injury. One of the games that he did start was in that bowl game versus Ohio State. And he played pretty well for them. Just doesn't have a ton of reps right now. But it was basically between him and Falatalu, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, that the Steelers drafted. Like those were like the 2 top guys on the board. But I think he has the highest ceiling out of all those guys.
Yeah. The problem is you didn't have to go wide receiver or offensive line at that particular moment. Now, I know you could say, well, they ended up getting Burton in the 3rd round. You mean the guy that's 6th on the depth chart right now? I know that's a pick that's not just for this upcoming year. But, like, I've always said this before, too, but a team like the Bengals and a team like – there's a reason that the Patriots were as aggressive as they weren't trying to get Brandon Ayuk. They were offering him more money. In fact, that's how bad Brandon Ayuk did not want to be a New England Patriot, mainly because you've said it before. I don't think he wants to play for anyone but the Niners. I think he's just trying to get the leverage built up, right?
Yep.
But the Patriots had offered – Brandon Ayuk more money than the Browns and any of the team were willing to part ways with as far as to landing him on the roster. There are certain teams that just know what they can and can't do. The Patriots can't draft a wide receiver to save their life. They just can't do it. They can't, whether it's developing them, whether it's drafting them, whatever it is over there in Massachusetts, okay, as Bill Belichick calls it on the Pat McAfee show. But no, but that's why they were as aggressive as they were trying to trade to get a wide receiver. That's why they are as aggressive as they are in the free agent market to try to get wide receivers. They just know they can't draft him. And the Cincinnati Bengals, Mims, I hope it works out from the standpoint of finally putting to rest this idea that they can't draft and develop him. But to take on a project on a position that, like, if you want to take a project wide receiver, I get that. You're an organization that's known for drafting wide receivers. But you are a joke when it comes to drafting offensive linemen. So why are you going to take a chance on a guy in the 1st round as far as that's concerned, especially now as everyone's getting paid? You paid Joe Burrow, you're paying Jamar Chase, you paid Logan Wilson, you're going to be paying a lot of guys moving forward. You Hendrickson, he once paid like a top pass rusher, right? He's going to get a pretty dime. You can't be taking chances on draft picks anymore. You got to hit. And so gambling, it's a gutsy move. We'll see if it works out. He was having a good camp before the injury. That's what's unfortunate. We'll see what happens. But to say, hey, he was looking real good. Well, who are the guys what's the guy that got Trent Brown? You see his tattoo?
Mm-mm.
Don't. I don't want you to get in trouble at work. But
Whoa, it's one of those?
It's one of those.
Wow.
A sexual act is being done to him.
On a
tattoo
tat?
on his arm. Yeah. Yeah. That's Zach Taylor culture over there doing real well. Just saying. But Trent Brown, too, is just an odd duck. He said he didn't believe in camp, in training camp. Just weird stuff. Like, I don't know. But again, the Bengals, you got to take a chance on Trent Brown, right? You got to get him. You can't draft and develop him. So you got to take a weird character dude because you need big guys up front. Orlando Brown Jr. is a massive human being. That was a good one. I like that. That was a good signing 2 years ago. Trent Brown's a massive human being. Mims is a massive human being. This idea that if you just put up this mountain in front of Burrow to protect him, I guess that's what you got to do. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Mims, I wish he didn't get hurt because he's the one I'm most fascinated about. You're right. The ceiling's high.
Yeah.
But are the Bengals good enough to develop him to that ceiling? I was told Frank Pollock is the greatest offensive line coach in the history of offensive line coaches. I haven't seen the difference, but we'll see. Paris Campbell was cut by Philadelphia. John Ross was cut by Philadelphia today too.
Oh man. Speedy John Ross.
Well, I thought John Ross they were taking the flyer on him because of the kickoff rules.
Right.
I was like, well, you got a speed guy like that, but who knows as far as that's concerned. But I've been keeping an eye. I have not seen anything else as far as any big cuts today. Any names that kind of shock people, but so many names will be cut. Or some guys are, some teams are holding on for trades as far as that's concerned. Cleveland Browns, their 53-man roster was announced. Not a lot of surprise there. The surprise is how many quarterbacks are on the roster. They have 4. They're taking 4 quarterbacks into the season. Now, I think a trade could be coming up here very soon. But the 4 quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Tyler Huntley, Dorian Thompson-Robinson,
DTR,
and of course Jameis Winston. I was shocked to read today that the Browns are shopping Jameis Winston, or at least trying to get offers, which I think is smart. I think it's smart because again, it's a team that needs draft picks. I don't want to go into the season like DTR looked good in preseason, but let's not let this be our Kenny Pickett, people. Let's not do that. Every time DTR threw a beautiful ball, I just saw Kenny Pickett throwing. That's all I saw. I'm not going to lie. So you know what I mean? So that's just kind of where I'm at with that. But I think right now,
Pickett taking strays.
There are teams who are desperate for a quarterback right now. And if, and obviously Winston's a very, very good. He's a very good quarterback. He's not elite. He's not maybe very, let me take the very, he's a good quarterback. Teams who need a starter could be looking at that. If I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I think you're the Browns. All right. How desperate are you? You have Sam Darnold. I would take Jameis over Sam Darnold in a heartbeat any day of the week. But I'm sure the Vikings would too. But how much are they willing to give up for him? You're going to be without your rookie cheating, national championship cheating to win Connor Stallion's business partner / never seen him in my life before quarterback. I mentioned he cheated. You're without him for the year. I don't know. Jordan Addison, by the way, suspended for the first 6 games of the season. That could play a role in that too. I don't know. 4 quarterbacks on the roster is a lot.
Definitely a lot. They're all not going to make the opening day roster. I know it sounds like a baseball thing, but they won't be carrying 4 quarterbacks. They'll probably carry 3 to address, 1 to be on the practice squad.
Who you putting Pro Bowl Tyler Huntley? Are you putting him on the practice squad? You putting Jameis is the backup, right? Assuming he doesn't get moved. DTR, they're super high on him. I think Huntley's the odd man out.
Yeah.
So by the way, when I said Jameis Winston, Huntley and Jameis Winston are the names that they're kind of shopping out there.
Yeah, DTR is going to be on the roster as the practice team guy, and is really down to if they actually get an offer for Jameis, if he's going to remain with the roster or not. Because you want to keep him unless you get something for him.
Yeah. So it's Tyler Huntley that's out.
Yes.
No doubt about that. Jack Conklin disclosed that he tore his ACL, his MCL, his PCL, and meniscus when he was injured in the season opener last year.
Ouch.
I mean, my gosh, you could tell he's a Cleveland Brown, just L. I mean, his ACL, his MCL, his PCL, his season opening L, his playoff L. I mean, there's a lot of L's for old Jack Conklin, but it does look like they have, that's total destruction of the leg right
Yeah,
there.
definitely.
But he's back. He's practicing now. We'll see what happens. Anything on Jamar? He practiced today. Do they have a practice today?
Yet.
I am kind of curious about that as far as that's concerned. Nick Chubb on the PUP list to start. So out for the first 4 weeks at the very least. My thing is so last year, Nick Chubb went out in week 2. Cheap shot, dirty shot from Kev Nash's. No. So he goes out in week 2, right? And we know how good and important Nick Chubb is to the Cleveland Browns, no doubt about it. But Nick Chubb out for the rest of the season. The Cleveland Browns finished as a top 10 rushing team in football. All right. And you could say, oh, well, you know, some of that's from Nick Chubb. A week and a half, a game and a half. That's not weighting anything. You know, they were a top 10 rushing team in football without him. You want him back. But my point is Cleveland's going to be, if Deshaun has to be who they expect him to be, with adding Jerry Jeudy, with, of course, Amari Cooper, with David Njoku. Obviously, you have a top 10 running team in football last year without Nick Chubb. That offensive line's healthy now. If Deshaun does what he's supposed to, the impact of not having Nick Chubb early in the season, I don't think there'll be one. But imagine, Kev, a team like the Browns, if they are a hot team this year and they are a playoff team, and you can get a healthy Nick Chubb, a fully healthy, ready to go Nick Chubb at the halfway point or later in the season, and that's just one more weapon you're adding for a playoff team. This could work out really well for the Browns. I see some Browns fans are in a hurry to get him back. I am not. I am not in a hurry to get Nick Chubb back, mainly because I think that they can, if they need Nick Chubb early in the season, that's a bad thing.
Okay.
If they need, if we are in week 3 and we're saying, man, we need Nick Chubb, that means Deshaun stinks. That means Deshaun has not played well. That means we're doing with Deshaun what we did since the beginning. Well, he's a little rusty. At some point, you just stink. All right, Deshaun, at some point, you're not rusty. You just stink. I don't think he stinks, but I also know there's no patience anymore. Get out there and play.
Yeah, patience is out the window with you Cleveland Browns fans. You want to see Deshaun play, and you want to see results. You don't want to just see him play, but you want to see him ball. So we're going to find out week 1. Dallas Cowboys, 4:30 kick. We're going to see.
Battle of the dysfunction right there. The dysfunction bowl. The Kinner Bowl.
It is. It is. Question.
Yep.
Ayuk, what happens?
Man, CD gets signed. Jamar, he loses his temper tantrum fight. He shows up to practice. Ayuk, you want to be a Niner so bad, just be a Niner. Go out there. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that one. That's been the weirdest storyline all offseason. Jamar's been the most interesting one. The weirdest one has been Ayuk.
The longest story.
Yeah,
the longest story.
By the way, he's been a Brown. He's been a Patriot. He's been a Steeler. He's a 3-time Pittsburgh Steeler this offseason.
Retired number.
I mean, you were a Super Bowl contender, then you weren't. Super Bowl contender again, then you weren't. I mean, make up your mind. Oh, yeah. Chad Kinser last. Oh,
Niners. He's going to sign with the Niners. It's not going to. No, it's not. It's not happening.
Yeah, he had opportunity to get paid a lot of money by the Patriots. Go be a part of a good receiving core in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Cleveland was not going to pay him as much. Don't trust that quarterback situation. May not trust your quarterback situation. I don't think he trusted New England's quarterback situation. But you have Brock Purdy waiting for you with the San Francisco 49ers. So there's that.
You just went to the Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah, I get it. Jeff Hang says, how do you think Jerome Ford will play filling in for Chubb? Look, is he Nick Chubb? No, not even close. Jeff, I don't expect Jerome Ford to be Nick Chubb. I do wish the Browns would have been a little more aggressive with going after a running back. Dalvin Cook, I saw a clip of him the other day. I guess he's freaking just jacked and ripped. They said last year when he got signed, he was not he was getting in shape as he signed. He is in football shape now. He's not coming off of an injury. I'm not saying advocating for that necessarily at this point, but I think they feel confident enough with Ford and with the running backs in that room to get the job done the way they got the job done last year. They didn't have Nick Chubb last year, and they finished top 10 in rushing on the season. So I think they'll be all right. Like I said, the running game in the past for the Browns had to be the vocal point.
Mm-hmm.
When you had Baker Mayfield, you needed Nick Chubb. Just like when you had Ryan Tannehill with the with the Titans, you needed Derrick Henry. If Joe Burrow is the Titans quarterback, you don't need Derrick Henry. If Joe Burrow is the Bengals or the Browns quarterback, you don't need Nick Chubb. And if Deshaun is who you paid him to be, you don't need Nick Chubb either. You just want Nick Chubb. So I think if the Browns are going to be good, we shouldn't be talking about the run game. If we're talking about how necessary the run game is, that means the passing game isn't doing what it's supposed to. You want that balanced offense, no doubt. But I think they'll be just fine. You're not replacing that production, but I think they can get by without it. Nate on YouTube, Kinner skips off the bench, but goes on his show at a doctor's appointment today. It was a very interesting doctor's appointment. A lot of ups and downs.
You're not allowed to have a personal life, Kinner.
No. So there you go. Chad Kinster says, I know Chubb is on the PUP list, but one of the guys I work with said the Browns may be shopping him with his injuries. I knew you guys would know for sure. Any truth with that? I mean, we wouldn't know for sure more than anyone else as far as that goes. I think that this year is being treated as an all-in year for the Browns. I was in the minority last year when I said the Browns better not extend him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they reworked the contract. There's a difference. They reworked the contract.
Right.
I was fine with that because now they got him on a cheap deal. But at first, he was trending towards being – that's what's unfortunate. And unfortunately for him, that injury, that knocked him down a peg or two from the money line. He lost money in that particular situation. So I think this is a win-win. You bring him back for this year. You go all in. Like I said, if Cleveland's a 7-8 win team at the week 10, week 11 mark, and you get Nick Chubb back then, how many 8-9 win teams at the near the halfway point of the season can add a super talented running back like Nick Chubb like that without having to give up anything? I think that's a ace in the hole if you ask me, as far as that's concerned. Or he's just something to look forward to after a disaster start to the season. I'm not really sure. But I don't know if they would look to move on from him unless Ford just comes out and looks like a Pro Bowl running back right off the bat. But we'll see.
We'll see.
What would his value be?
Not high.
Not high right now. Not coming off that. I mean, his leg was parallel.
Yeah.
We're talking about the MCL, ACL. His leg formed an L. That's how parallel. I mean, it was nasty. It was not good. Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll continue talking a little NFL. Kev, what are you having me do? I'm gonna have to guess the backup.
Yes.
How well do you?
Everybody knows the starting quarterbacks around the league, but who are the backups? Who remain the backups in the league? We're gonna see if you know.
I probably don't know many, but I'll give it the old college try. I'll give it a very good effort. Hey, just a reminder, this Saturday, Submarine House in Centerville. It's our Buckeye pregame tailgate. Ohio State kicks off the 2024 season, and we kick off our tailgate season. Every Saturday and Sunday, we'll be at various sports bars throughout the Miami Valley. Every Saturday, we're going to be at different submarine houses throughout. Every Sunday, we'll be at Frickers for our NFL show. That doesn't kick off this Sunday. It's a week from Sunday. But this Saturday, Submarine House, we'll be there for our Buckeye pregame tailgate. Guy getting you set for Ohio State Akron. Cool prizes will be given away, of course, opportunities for you to win those. Great food and drink specials. Come on out. We always have a great time. Looking forward to seeing you this Saturday, our Buckeye pregame tailgate. Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Hour number 3 coming up next.